This is a bullseye, and in the middle there is the recruit. And around there is a life app, an IRA account, the F&A, a legal, Vivint, an ID theft. And so when you're given the presentation, you're aiming at the recruit. Why do you want to recruit? We don't make any money to recruit anybody. Like if we recruit you today, we don't make any money. We actually lose money because we're going to lay out $1,100 on your licensing and your classes and your schooling. So Primerica loses money on every recruit they hire, right? In the hope that they get a license, learn the business, and create clients over the long term. That's why they do it. That's the only reason they do it. It's not like we're the United Way and we just want to give people licenses for nothing. We have a goal that if they earn a license, they're going to work here and over the long run earn us a lot of profits, and it's worth the initial investment. Now when I was new, it wasn't like that. When I was new, you had to lay out all the money on every license. And I was flat broke, but I wanted to do it, and luckily I did it. But here, when you're aiming at the recruit and you miss, if you gave education, you're going to probably hit one of these things. Would you agree with that or no? Or maybe even another name. Maybe when they listen, they go, you know, this is really good, but it's not really what I want to do. But I know this guy who would be great for that. As long as you give the education. Lewis, when I recruited you 20 years ago, or however long it was ago, what was it that recruited you? A little of the IRA part, so learning about the Roth IRA then, I remember. Right. If all I would have done is walk in and just talked about recruiting and nothing else, I probably would not have recruited you then. Just listen. You could argue it in your own head all you want. I know the deal. Okay? You could run your business like Amway, or you could run it like a real legitimate business. When I'm recruiting a person, I want to meet with them one-on-one. I want to know who they are, what they do, what are their dreams and goals. I want to explain to them who we are, what we do, how it works. I want to bring them education so that they want to come work with us. Now, if I don't like them, then I won't recruit them. But you know, usually I like people. Every once in a while, somebody will rub you the wrong way, like, I ain't recruiting this jack, you know. But, so anyways. So every presentation is the same. When you're learning the presentation, I would give everybody a presentation. I'd give my brother the presentation 12 times. Bro, can you listen to my presentation again? Bro, when I'm rich, you're going to, you know, be glad. Fine, I'll listen to your presentation. So he let me give him the presentation. Mom, can you let me give you the presentation again? Yeah. And so you give it to everybody. All my friends at college, I say, hey, listen, I really want you to work with me. I don't know if you're interested or not, but I want to give you a practice presentation anyways. Will you listen to me? Yeah, sure. So I got a lot of people to just let me give them presentations. And then I would record it, and I'd drive home, and I'd listen to it, and I'd throw up because I was terrible. I'm like, I wouldn't work with that guy. That was terrible. But that I invested time in listening, I was able to improve it. And over time, in a lot of presentations, I got pretty good at it. Okay? So anyway, so let's give you the presentation. When I go on a presentation, I bring this presentation. Okay? If you look online, this one is called, so that you know, okay, this is what it's called online. There's ones that look like it that are longer pages that you got to open up like a map, okay? You don't want that. This is just real easy. It's not, you know, like overly, it's not overwhelming. So whenever I walk into a presentation, you don't walk in with a huge briefcase with crap all flying out of it, like, you know, like you don't walk in there with the rollaway luggage thing and like prepare like you're going to sleep there. Okay? I'm serious. I watch you guys do it. And the unorganized people that walk in there with like papers hanging out of a notebook and like that is not a good image. Okay? So have a presentation kit. So what I do is I bring a notepad. It's like a black leather case that zips, like a little notebook. In there is a yellow legal pad, a pen. I have this presentation in there. I have the recruiting laminate in there, and I have an F and A in there. So this is very skinny. It slides right in my notebook. I zip it up, and I walk in with one notebook. It's very clean. It's very neat. It's not like I'm moving into their house. It's not like they're like, honey, do you have a Snickers? Because it looks like they're going to be here a while. You know, they, like you don't want to leave that impression, okay? And so I'm going to start with the presentation. Figure Nick and Barbie are right here in the front. So I'll just use Nick and Barbie's name. And I'm going to act like you brought me there, Danny. Okay, so Danny brought me to Nick and Becky. My wife's parents are Nick and Becky, so Nick and Barbie. They actually just landed at 1 o'clock in the morning. They were in Europe for the last month. So they had a whole month in Europe. They went all over Italy, Greece, and Spain, and had a great time, and just landed at 1 o'clock in the morning last night. So anyways, which is what you could do when you're in Primerica and you grow a business, okay? A real business that pays you even when you're not there. You could leave for like a month, right? So we're going to make believe he's the recruit, they're the couple. When you walk in and you're knocking on the door, the recruit knocks on the door. For whatever reason, recruits like want you to lead the way. Well, you don't know them. They know the recruit. So he would want, and you need to explain this with your recruit as you're driving there. Okay, so I'm going to say, hey, Danny, when we walk up, to the house, you're going to knock. And when you knock, you don't move away, because that's another thing new recruits do. They knock and then they move away, and now you're up there. So when they open the door, it's a stranger at their door. Whatever reason. But if you explain it to your recruit, you knock, you wait there, they open, hug, kiss, and you introduce me as your trainer. That is your job. Do you got that? And you explain that, to the recruit, right? And then you say, and then when we walk in, you're going to lead me to wherever they eat. You're not going to lead me to the living room, the museum. That is death right there. If you're in the museum, that meeting's not going to go well. You've got to lead me to wherever they eat. So if there's crumbs there, you just wipe off the crumbs. I don't care. And then I'm right-handed. So I need you to sit on my left and let them sit on my right. This is important because new recruits, they'll walk in and they'll walk around, and then husband will sit here, wife will sit here, and you're playing tennis, with the people. You get dizzy. So if you prep the new recruit on what they need to do, and if you're a new recruit, this is what you would need to do. You're going to knock, hello, welcome, lead into wherever they eat, and then you're going to sit, if your trainer's right-handed, on his left. If your trainer's left-handed, probably on his right. And then your job, Danny, is you're just going to nod and smile. You're not going to give your views, your opinions. You're going to nod and smile. And when you have a question, I want you to write it down. So I want you to bring a recorder. So your smartphone, you can record it. We will ask them if they will let us record it so that you can record it. And I want you to bring a notepad so when you've got a question, because you'll want to interject, just write it down. Because after the appointment, as we're driving, to the next one, you can ask me all those questions, and I will give you every answer. Are we clear? Now, if you screw up under the table, I'm going to give you a kick, a swift kick to the shin. It'll hurt, so don't screw up. Don't screw up my flow on the presentation. Now, if I ask you a question, you can answer, but other than that, don't interject, right, Orlando? Because I heard you're an interjector. But if you're an interjector and you listen to some presentations, you don't need Ray anymore. You go out and do it. Or if you need him, just quiet at the table, you know? So Ray's looking at him like, see, I told you. So anyways, now we walk in, hug and kiss, hug and kiss. This is Omar, my trainer. This is Nick and Barbie, and they walk us over to the place. He wipes off the crumbs, right? Oh, and you also let him know if there's kids who are running around, making noise, and obnoxious. Now it changes, where you're not going to smile and nod. You're going to go play with the kids so that they can listen. And they go, well, then I'm not learning. Yes, you are. That's why we're recording it. So in case your nieces and nephews are crazy and yelling and screaming, it's your job to go play with them in the other room so that they can listen to the presentation. Since you're recording it, you're not losing out on anything. So that's your role as a new recruit. Okay? So then we walk in, and then you could actually time the presentation if you want. So I'm going to walk in. Nick, Barbie, how are you guys this evening? So what do you do? Like, what's your job, Nick? A paramedic. And what do you do, Barbie? An office manager. So how long have y'all been in that line of work? 14 years. So let me ask a question. What do you like about it and what do you not like about it? Different day every day, okay. What do you not like about it? The income and the hours you work, right? Okay, and so let me ask you a question. If there was a way where with no risk you could learn Primerica with me and you could earn $1,000 a month working one evening a week and eventually grow it where you could replace your income working less hours, are you open to that? Okay, and Barbie, how long have you worked as an office manager? 4 years, and what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? So you don't like nothing about it, right? Okay, all right. I like your honesty, you know, and so obviously the reason we're here is I'm training your brother, and we want to grow him a business, and so we're out visiting everybody he knows, everybody that loves him and trusts him. So you guys were high on his list, obviously, since you've known him all his life, right? You're his older sister or his younger sister? Older sister. You look younger because he has no hair, so, you know, I thought. So, and so, have you ever known of Primerica? Never heard of us? Okay, good. Well, let me explain a little bit about who we are, what we do, okay? And let me explain to you, as you're listening, our primary goal is we want you to love it that much that you want to work with us. That is our primary goal. Now, if you're not interested, we're not going to twist your arm, strong arm close you to work with us. We only want those that really want to work with us, working with us, okay? But as you're listening, if you're not interested, maybe you'll know others that you're able to recommend his way that would want to work with us, number one. And number two, maybe you'll need what we offer, and if we're able to work with you there, that'd be great too, okay? But no pressure. This evening, I won't ask you to write any checks. There's no close. There's no, when is the close coming? How much will this cost me? All you could do this evening is listen, learn, and ask questions. At the end of the meeting, if there's any interest, then we'll line up another meeting, okay? So Primerica was around since that year, 1977. Were you guys even alive then? No. Wow. Okay, so that just lets me know how old I am, because I was already in grade school at that year. But 1977, for all these years, we were privately owned. And then in the year 2010, we went public on the New York Stock Exchange. I actually was there the morning that we rang the bell. It was really, really neat, once in a lifetime event. But when we went public, the price of the stock was that much, And now, 9 years later, it's approximately 120. It fluctuates up and down. But the reason I explain that is not that you run out and own Primerica stock, is I want you to realize the reason it grew that much, number one, we're very profitable. Number two, everybody on Wall Street loves what we do. We run a clean business. They know our niche. No one else works with the niche of clients we work with, and nobody brings what we bring. So we're very, very unique. So let me explain our mission. Let me explain our niche. Our mission is, number one, the niche is middle-class America. If you look at middle-class America, this is what they earn in range. If you add Nick's income plus your income, you added it up, are you in that range? Would you agree pretty much everybody that works, there are those less than that, but generally speaking, if you have any education at all, husband and wife working, you're in that range, right? So it's a huge niche. So I want you to look at that, because if you're looking to work with us, I want you to realize that everybody needs what we offer. Number one, the most critical thing we offer is offer them a way to earn more income. Like with you guys, if you notice how I brought it up earlier, is our number one goal is we want you to work with us. Well, the reason is we know husbands and wives work hard, bring in their income, and at the end of the month, it's not like, whew, look at all this leftover money we got. What are we going to do with it all, right? Would you agree it's more like, whew, we made it this month, right? Is it more like that in your home? It's like that in every home, right? And so what we've learned in Primerica is if we could work with you, train you, license you, and you work one evening a week, you can earn an extra grand or more a month. And an extra grand a month rolling into your place every month would relieve a lot of stress, wouldn't it? Nick, like with the extra grand a month, what would you use it on? Debt. You'd want to knock off the loans. And Barbie, how about you? Debt and the mall, right? Okay, good. I like your honesty, right? I like your honesty. That's usually the answer that I normally get off the wives, okay? And so that is the number one primary goal that we've got with you this evening. Next one is we want to get you properly protected. And I write out here what that really means is life coverage, life insurance. Usually, husband works, wife works, brings in their income, and like we already brought up, there's not a lot left over at the end of the month, right? If one of you weren't there tomorrow, Nick, you work with 911 rescue, right? How many people do you watch pass away a month? A lot. None of them woke up that morning and said, this is the day, this is my last day, right? I mean, like somebody runs a red light, right? Somebody's looking at the radio, they're not watching where they're driving. It happens. So if middle-class America, husband and wife work and they bring in that income and one of them's not there tomorrow, the one that is left is in a lot of trouble. Wouldn't you agree with me? I mean, how would either one of you live on one of your incomes? You wouldn't. You'd probably you'd lose your home, you'd ruin your credit, you'd be struggling for the rest of your life probably. So with life coverage, there's a right way and a wrong way. The right way runs you a little money, gives you a lot of life coverage. The wrong kind runs you a lot of money, gives you little life coverage. So we'll explain how that works later, but that's one of our goals, is to make sure people have this in place. Next is we want to get you out of debt, which you already brought up. You guys want to get out of debt. And so what we do that's very, very unique that nobody does is we run an F&A. And if you notice the word needs analysis, we don't want to write you any product that you don't need. So we're like a doctor. We're going to look at your x-rays, which is your needs analysis, and we're going to bring you what you need. And if you want it, you use it, and if you don't, you don't. No obligation. But let me give you an example here of the F&A. So let's look at the debts. So this is an actual client that I wrote up many years ago, and they let me use their numbers. I didn't use their real names, okay? But this is what they looked like. They had credit card, credit card, credit card, credit card, credit card, mortgage. When you add up all their loans, that's what they owe. Usually, you all say, hey, did you sneak in and look up our numbers? Because that looks like us, right? And no, it just looks like everybody. Then you ask them, what's their weighted average interest rate on all their loans? They look at you like you got one eye in the middle of your head, right? Because nobody knows their weighted average interest rate. They know their mortgage rate, but when you average in all the credit cards in there, this is their true interest cost. Then all their minimum payments equal this number. And when you grew up, didn't you learn never lay out the minimums, always lay out a little bit more, right? Did you learn that? I know I did. And so guess what? That's a myth. Guess who created the myth? The credit card companies, because they want you trapped in debt as long as humanly possible. So the right way to do it is all the extra little payments that they were using, and if you look, they're using a little bit on extra, and they're using a lot extra on the mortgage. Why? Because everybody learns that also. So the right way to wipe out your loans is you add up all the extra stuff, which adds up, to this number, and you apply that on the smallest loan, not the one with the largest interest rate, the smallest loan balance. And I'll explain in a minute. If this client never added more debt, okay, they would wipe out the last loan, what's that year say, 2040. And I ran this like 8 years ago, okay? And their interest cost is 188 grand. So they're gonna lay out 188 grand in interest costs over all those years. Now, that's if they add no more debt. Let me ask you a question. If you don't raise your income, what are the odds you add no more debt? You never use a credit card ever again? 0. But what if you worked with us and you made an extra grand, $1,200, $1.5 a month, and now you're really watching it. Now you could not use your credit cards, and you could use that extra cash, and you could actually start wiping out your loans, right or wrong. So now watch. All we're going to do, and we'll run this for you guys absolutely for free, but this is what they look like without us, with no knowledge, no education, and then we brought them a plan to get out of debt. So let me explain to you what we brought them, right? So here we used all the minimums. So the minimums, if you notice, it's the exact number. Only the extra money, we used it on their smallest loan. So you use the minimum plus the extra money equals that amount of money. That loan was wiped out November a couple years ago already. When that loan was wiped out, though, now you have that extra money that you were using on that debt. Now you could snowball it. I use the word snowball it. Snowball small, and if it rolls down, it gets larger and larger and larger. So here you can snowball that, and now your next smallest loan is this one. You use the minimum plus that extra money. That loan was wiped out last year, August. Now there's a larger number to snowball, right? And now you snowball that one on the next one, which was brand smart. So you use the minimum plus that equals this amount. June 2019, this month, that loan's wiped out. Now you have a larger number to snowball. And if you work it all the way down, when are they out of debt now? 2033. How many years earlier is that? 7 years. 7 years, they were laying out how much a month? $2,200 a month. So if you work that out over 7 years, that's a couple $100,000 less money that you'll wind up paying just learning how to wipe that out. Let me ask you a question. How many people would you know that are in debt? Everybody. How many would want a plan that's free to actually wipe out their debt? Everybody. And the reason I'm explaining that is if you come work with me and you learn it and you're trained and you know what you're doing, everybody's your prospective client. You with me? Is that logical? Okay, great. So, and then last but not least, we want you to be able to retire. We want you to be independent. You ever notice, everybody says the golden years. When I retire, it's going to be the golden years. Isn't it more like the aluminum years now, right? I mean, the reality is they're not living the dream. Anyone you know that's retired, they're on a limited income, they're struggling, they're just making ends meet, right? So what we've learned is that middle class America never learns how to invest their money, where to invest their money. So working with us, we're going to license you. We're going to license you. We're going to train you. You're going to know more than anybody you know related with investments. Let me ask you a question. At your wedding, how many were there roughly? 200. Of that, how many were licensed people in the investment business? None. You know, usually whenever I ask that, the answer is none. And I'll explain why later. So that's what we do. So that's the mission. How do we do this? Number one, we bring you education, which I will bring you now. We run, let me make it smaller now. We run a needs analysis. We run a needs analysis so that we know what you need, and we're going to bring you products that will help you. That's how we do it. So, have you ever learned this rule here? The rule of 72. You ever learn that rule? It's the only thing that I learned in college that I actually use. So it's really ridiculous because you could learn this rule in 1 minute, which you're going to learn it right now. It's in every library. It's on the internet. Everybody in the industry knows about it. But if you don't know anybody in the industry, you don't know about it. So this rule lets you know the approximate number of years it'll take to double your money. So what you do is you use this number, 72, divided with whatever interest rate you can make on your money, equals the years it'll take to what? Double your money. So where do most middle class people leave their money? A bank or a credit union, right? So let's just stretch the interest rate and let's make it 1, even though you're probably earning less than 1 at the credit union or the bank. Using this rule and using an interest rate of 1, how many years will you need to wait in order to double your money? 72. Now you guys look young and you're a lot younger than me, but probably in 72 years you're not around. Would you agree with me? How old would you be, like 108, something like that, right? I mean, you might be, but the odds are that's a long time and you're probably not here. So if you had 20 grand in the bank, you'd have to wait how many years? 72 years, and it'd be worth what? 40,000. Let me ask you a question. When you're in line at the bank and you look left and you look right, does anybody look rich? When you drive up, are there any Rolls Royces out there? Bentleys, Lambos, Ferraris, middle class cars, right? Chryslers, Hondas, Nissans, whatever, right? Now, if you work with us, there's a license that you can get, and this is what it is, and this lets you write investments. What's unique with this license is you're not able to get it unless you work at a brokerage and they sponsor you. Okay, so that's why you don't know anybody that's licensed. Okay, usually it's you're already licensed and then they recruit you. But you're like, but how are you licensed if you need to work there in order to get a license, right? Isn't it tricky? So it's usually who you know, then they hook you up or whatever, right? So here, every new recruit we bring on, we license them, we lay out the licensing, so it runs you no money at all, okay? And now you have more knowledge than anybody you know. At your wedding, everybody that was there, you said, how many? 200. Wouldn't they all want to retire one day? And if you don't know anybody, the odds are they don't know anybody. The odds are they're leaving theirs at the credit union or the bank like you guys are, right? If you were in that license, now you got instant credit, instant clients. Because if they were at your wedding, they love you and trust you, right? So they'll at least let you over their house so you can explain to them. If you are in that license, you're going to learn where you can invest money, and you could average a rate of 12. Okay? Using a rate of 12 with this rule, how many years now will it take to double your money? 6 years. It's a lot quicker, isn't it? I mean, 6 years flies by, right? How's your youngest one? 6 years old. And wasn't it a flicker? Like, holy crap, she was already 6, right? So let me give you an explanation of what I always explain. So this is twin brothers, and twin brothers' grandma passed away, and when grandma passed away, Grandma left them a little money. So they're 29 years old each. Grandma left them a little money. And brother A, there's always one brother that's the know-it-all brother, you know that brother, right? He knows everything, but he's broke, right? All those know-it-alls are usually broke. So let's call him brother A. So is this brother A, is he the know-it-all? No, okay. Is Nick the know-it-all? Yes, okay. So Nick, I need you to open your mind here, okay? So this is brother B, okay? So now, brother A is Mr. Know-it-all. So where does he go to the credit union or the bank? He gets them to give him a larger rate than anyone else gets. Let's just make believe that's even possible. And he brags to the whole world about his great rate that he got at the credit union, right? Now, using this rule, at that rate, how many years would you need to wait in order to have your money double? 18 years. So let's work out the years. 18 years later, the money doubles one time, it's worth that much. 18 years later, if the money doubles again, now it's worth $100,000. Now he's ready to retire. How will he retire with 100 grand? Under a bridge, maybe? Because not even Hialeah you can live on 100,000. Not even Little Havana you can live on. Not even Opelika you can live on 100,000, right? It is what it is, right? Not even Overtown anymore, man. Overtown's moving on up, high rises and everything in Overtown. So now, this guy, he works with us. He earns his license. He gets knowledgeable. He never quits his job. He never makes a lot with us. He just learns. He applies what he learns in his own life, and he averages a rate of 12%. Using that rule, how many years now will that money double? 6 years. And I'm asking you those questions because I want to know you learn the rule. Okay, so that's why I need your interaction with me. So let's just work out the years. So let's work out the years. And if you work that out, the money doubles once here, then it doubles again, then it doubles again, then it doubles again. It's getting large, then 800 grand, then $1.6 million. Now, if you notice this, it's the exact investment amount, the exact number of years. One was educated and one wasn't educated. And the difference is that's $1.5 million difference. Will that change their retirement in a drastic way, in a good way, a positive way, right? The banks and the credit union, they know this. Like your money, when you leave it there, it's not like locked in the vaults. I used to work as a window teller when I was in college. And I remember when I was new, I walked and I saw the vault door, right? I was like, I can't wait to see in the vault. You know, you watch all these movies and you see all the money, and I'm even hallucinating there's going to be rubies and emeralds and jewels and all that kind of. And they open and there's nothing in there but drawers. And each window teller gets one drawer. And each drawer has like 8 grand in it and 9 grand in it. There's like very little cash in the bank because they don't leave it there. When you leave the money there, they use it and they lend it out. They lend it out on credit cards. What interest rates are credit cards usually? 18, 19, 28, 26, right? They know this rule. They're letting you earn 1, they're earning 18. They make the big, like a bookie in Las Vegas does, okay? And so what we do is we work with middle-class America, help them learn this stuff so that they quit loaning their money with the banks. Quit loaning them your money. That's all you're doing is you're actually lending them your money. Most people, if you got 8 grand in a credit union, you probably owe 8 grand on a credit card with that exact credit union. Isn't that crazy? And now your 8 grand's there earning you 1, and you owe them 8 grand and they're charging 19%. Is that retarded? People don't think about that. So what we want you to do is quit loaning your money and invest your money. So have you ever heard of mutual funds? Yeah? Most have heard about it, but if we ask them exactly what it is, how it works, explain it to me, they'd be like, I have no idea. So let me explain it, and let me use my lousy artwork here. So if you were to view a mutual fund, it would look like a square with a lot of little squares in it. And each square represents a different company, okay? And so in there, let's just use some names everybody knows. Coke, Pepsi, Apple, Google, Walmart, Target, Bank of America, Chase, and on and on and on. The average mutual fund owns between 80 to 300 companies in it, right? So you never want to own one stock, because if you own one stock and they wind up broke, you're also broke. So in a mutual fund, the number one greatest reason to use it is they spread out your money. So this word, diversification, spreads out your money amongst all these names. So I like Coke products. Coke Zero is what I like to drink. I don't really like Pepsi products as much. I'll drink them if it's the only option, but I'd rather drink Coke, right? So what happens if Coke went broke tomorrow? What would happen to Pepsi, you think? It would go up. I use Apple products. I got an iPhone, an iPad, I got computers at home. I'm an Apple guy. What are you guys? You're Apple? You know those Droid people? They're like a little weird, yeah? Yeah, like your brother's a Droid head, right? I could call him. But even though you love Apple and you don't like Droid, if Apple went broke, what would happen to Droids? They'd explode. So that's the idea of using a mutual, fund. Is you invest your money, even if it's $80 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, as little as that. You invest the money and they spread it out, and so you earn what you would earn if you were wealthy. Because if you were wealthy, you could create your own mutual fund. But if you're investing $100 a month, you can't. So they created it. So they created these in the year 1924. MFS, which is around now, created the mutual fund. They created the idea of let's treat middle-class America like we would treat wealthy people. Let's let them all mutually invest their what? Funds, and let's treat it like one client where they're all rewarded in it. And over that 90-plus year history, they've averaged anywhere between 9 to 12 over all those years. Who runs these mutual funds? Not me. I don't want that job. That's stress, pressure, ulcers, lose your hair, sleepless nights. I don't want none of that stuff. But the ones that run it, they're really smart. And they love it. And all they do every day, morning, noon, and night, is look at every one of them squares. And they look at the profits, and they look at the new product lines, and they look at everything related with that company. And when there's one in there that's not looking good, they remove it. And when there's another one that is looking good that's not in there, they bring it in. It's their job. So these are pro money managers. And they have analysts that all they do is look at all this stuff every day. And so you don't need to worry about it. You got Little League, you got to worry about dance lessons, the yard. You got life happening, your jobs, right? These guys are pros and they manage your money. When would we use these? Number one, to plan retirement, right? And number two, for college and for any other goals you have. This is where you use mutual funds. Any questions on it? How many people, do you know that need all that stuff? Everybody. How about everybody that was at your wedding? Would they all need to learn all this stuff? Are you glad that we drove over this evening and you're learning all this stuff? Good, good. So anyways, let's move on to the next issue here is life insurance, right? So life insurance, when would you need life coverage? Well, normally when you're in the age group between there and there is really when you need it the most. And it's amazing. Most people think, I need it when I'm old, right? Why? Is that when you're going to drop dead, when you're old? I mean, nobody really knows when they die, right? And number two, you don't really need it when you're old, because when you're old, nobody's relying on you. When you're young, in this age group, that's when you got little ones, like you guys have kids. You have loans, obviously, because you already brought up that you'd use the extra $1,000 a month to wipe out their loans. You have a mortgage, and normally got very little money. Because if there was $1 million laying around, you wouldn't need any life coverage, because if you drop dead, you leave $1 million, right? So our goal with clients is work with them so in the early years they have a lot of life coverage because they got a little money. And over the years, if they listen to us and they invest their money, their little money, as little as $80, $100 a month. I mean, we can run the numbers. We'll look at your needs, analysis, all that stuff. But your little money over the years grows into a lot of money. And so years later, your little ones have grown up, right? Because when you're ready to retire, they're already out of college and working, and they're not living in your home, you hope, anyways, because with these millennials nowadays, these loser kids keep coming home, you know? And if you listen to us, we'll wipe out your loans and we'll wipe out your mortgage years quicker. So if later on you had no mortgage, no loans, little ones grown up, and you had money, would you need to have life coverage? No. That's why we only needed that amount of time, right? So we want to rent it. We just want to rent it for the years we need it, rather than owning it. That's so much more money, and you don't even need it later. Okay? So let me explain to you the differences. There's really two kinds. One is called cash value. We nickname it trash value around here, okay? And there's names of it. Whole life is one of them. Universal is one. Variable is one. Then they mix them up. Universal whole, universal variable, yada, yada, yada. But when I was new 20 plus years ago, the industry was really writing a lot of whole life coverage. But then Primerica was out helping people learn this was a ripoff. And then the industry created universal life. And they said, oh, this isn't like whole life. This is universal life. This is different. It's the exact crap, okay? And then when everybody learned it was, then they went to variable life. And now 20 plus years later, they're back to writing whole life again. So I've watched the whole thing happen. So let me explain to you whole life and the way it works. So we'll use an example of a 29-year-old person, because I've been using that example for the last 20 plus years, okay? But it works at any age. Whole life is a lot more at any age, okay? So at 29 years old, if you wanted 100 grand worth of life coverage, it would cost you this much a month, which is 1 grand a year, okay? So, but this is the way the agent would explain it, guys. They say, listen, out of that $83 a month, very little of it goes on your life insurance. That's included. That's free in the product. Most of that goes over here into your nest egg. They're going to use words like nest egg because middle class America likes that word. They've learned all the words that you guys love. It's music, to your ears. So nest egg. Then they say when you reach about this age, you'll have 20 grand in there and you can use on your child's college, right? So now, imagine everybody wants that. A nest egg, college, life insurance, right? And they usually have none of it. So this is one product for $80. They can handle everything, and then there's more. Oh wait, there's more, right? So at age 65, you're going to have 80 grand in there, extra money when you want to retire. And so here's the way they close it. They say, look, out of all these years, that many years, multiply with 1 grand equals you've invested this much. They use the word invested. It's not an investment. Okay? You've invested that. So if you live, we're going to give you 80 grand. So for $80 a month, you have no risk. If you're not living, you have life coverage if you're living. And so most people, since they don't know any other way, they do it. So now let's really look at it. Let's look at year number 1 and year number 2. After year number 2, you got a roof leak. And you need money. And you don't have money. You go, my nest egg. So you ring up your trash value number, the 800 number, you say, how much is in my nest egg? They're like, what? You mean in your cash value? Yeah, well, my nest egg thing. Well, there's no nest egg, there's a cash value. Okay, well, what is that? Oh, it's 0. Like, whoa, wait, the guy told me that a little of it went for life insurance, that the rest went to my nest egg. Yeah, but for year number 1 and year number 2, all that went, to the agent. So it's a great nest egg if you're the agent, not if you're the client. But if the agent would have let you know that, you would have never owned it, right? Let's open yours, and I'll open it up, and I'll prove to them it's in there, okay? If you were using this, I could open it up and prove it that year 1, it's written, only nobody reads them. When the agent drops them off, they normally say, hide this, because they want it out of your vision. Well, normally when we're there and we get it and it opens like this, because nobody's ever opened it before, and we prove that to them. Now the next thing is the rate. The average rate that you earn in these whole life plans are anywhere between 1 to 4. Middle class America think that's great, because that's more than the credit union. But now that you learn the rule of 72, right? 72 divided by 4 equals never, because that's why it's only 80 grand after all those years. Withdraw. If you withdraw money, right? This is your money. Now your little girl is ready for college. You got 20 grand in there. You really do. You want to use it for college. Do they let you use it? No. It's a loan. They lend you your own money. Look at the interest rate that they charge you when you use your own money. Look at the interest rate that they give you when you leave it in there. They work like the banks. Okay? Next, if you died, what if you died and you were this age, right? You got 80 grand in there, you really do, plus you got 100 grand worth of life coverage. Nick, if you died, what would they leave your wife? 180. It looks like the logical answer the way they explain it, but if you read the policy, it's only 100 grand. You lose the $80,000. Actually, technically, they give you the 80 grand, and the life coverage is only worth 20,000, and it's written in there. It's written. And what if you live? The odds are you live, right? Right? And so if you lived, what do you get? You get 80 grand if you drop the policy. If you cancel it, you can get the 80 grand out, and it's not a loan. Okay? Now, that's the way that works. Now let's look at what we do. Term coverage. That's life coverage. It's a lot less money for more coverage. So it works like everything. You guys drive, right? So you have auto coverage. You own a home. You got homeowners, right? So let me ask you a question. If you drove for your whole life and never crashed your car, nothing ever happened to your car, what did they give you out of your auto coverage? Nothing. What about homeowners? You lived there all your life, no hurricane, no claim ever, but every year you laid it out, right? What did you get out of it? Nothing. But if you needed it, if your roof flew off, and you'll be so glad you had it, right? If you crash and you totaled your car and the lady's in the hospital and it would have ran you 180 grand, you're glad you got it, right? That's why you own it. Well, life coverage works like that too, right? If you never use it, we'll never pay. If you die, we're going to pay. But while you're renting it out, we're going to invest money so that later on you got money and you don't need life insurance. So let me explain it real quick. So we're going to give you $250,000, that exact 29-year-old person, for $28 a month. So less money, more coverage. Who wouldn't want that? Right? Would anybody go, no, I'd rather have more money for less coverage, right? If they knew it existed. Now, if we're now only using $28, there's leftover money. So what's left over? That much. If we invested that money in a mutual fund, and it averaged 12 from age 29 all the way down to here, that would grow to $399. You have to trust me, I've worked it out a million times. So now you have your own life coverage and your own investment. You with me? You have your own life product. That's one product, and you have your other product, and you could list on those products, if you die, who you're leaving it to. So let's look at year number 1, year number 2. Year number 1, year number 2. Here, what do you got? Well, you have whatever went in every month plus a little growth. You have approximately this much after 2 years. Now, you're not rich, but would you rather have that or have $0? At least that's a little nest egg, or a little net. It's not a whole nest egg, but if it's a net, it's a start, right? So check that out. So let's say this is plan A and this is plan B. Your rate of return here, 9 to 12 average over 90 plus years. You know what the agent says, but mine's guaranteed. You know my answer to that? Guarantee that I'm broke when I'm old. That is guaranteed. I have no shot of accumulating any wealth at that rate of return. I need to educate me and invest money. So which one you like more? Obviously this one. Withdrawal. This is not a loan. This is your money. There is no charge, to withdraw money. Penalties, none. It's your cash. If you need it, we don't lend you your own money. Isn't that nice of us? That is really nice of us, I thought. I wish we were able to lend you your money so then we could make the money off it, but that ain't the way we roll in Primerica. If you died at this age, you got this much in your investment, you got this much worth of life coverage. It's not one product, it's each product. So if you died, you leave your loved ones this much money total, which is a lot more than $100,000, isn't it? It's night and day, the lives we can change with the education and the knowledge. And if you lived, and the odds are you will live, in your investments, how much will you have? $399, which is more than your life coverage. At that time, you don't need your life coverage anyways, because at that age, young ones are grown up, no loans, no mortgage, and you got money. So you'd rather that one. So look, if you own Plan A, if anybody that you knew owned Plan A, probably out of everybody that was at your wedding, I bet you 80 or 90 of them at least have that. And the rest of them have nothing. And if we went over their home and we brought them the education and we taught them, how many out of 10 would want this, you think? All of them. So let's say one's a knucklehead. 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, even 8 out of 10, 80% is a huge number, right? So that's what we do. We're the only life company that only writes that coverage. We don't even offer the other side. We're the only company in the industry that only offers that because we're wholesome, we're honest. Look, what I've learned over all the years is that most people, they don't plan, to what? To fail. They're not like, man, it's going to be awesome when I'm 80, working at Walmart with my little yellow highlighter, looking at the receipts on the way out. That's not their goal. But they never plan anything. They spend more time planning a trip, to Walt Disney World than their retirement because they weren't educated on it. Where do you learn about money? Elementary school, middle school, high school, college? Nowhere. We're their only shot. I mean, aren't you guys glad that your brother brought us over here today? Okay, so if you guys work with us, this is what we do. We're going to go visit everybody you know. We're going to explain to them. If they're interested, we'll work with them, help them. If they're not, we'll move on to the next one. We'll treat everybody nice because we want everybody to like us and like what we do because they could recommend us, to everybody we know. So let me ask you a question. If the worst thing that would happen, you guys working with us, I always love looking at worst case, greatest case scenario. The worst case is you worked with us, you learned, you earned some licenses, and you earned a little income, and you never made it. You never grew a business, or you worked your jobs that you hate, right, for the rest of your life. But you applied what you learned so that one day you could retire properly. Isn't that a win? That's your worst case. Greatest case is, what if you work and you like it? I never dreamt in a million years this is what I would do for the rest of my life. Never. Not one time that I'd ever be working in it, but I loved it. And knowing that I can earn unlimited income and open up offices and grow a business. So if the worst case is you learn and you earn, and the greatest thing is you work your way up and you open up your own offices and you quit your jobs and you live a phenomenal life, is there any logical reason you wouldn't want to try? No. So look, here's the way it works. If you earned your licenses on your own, if you went and you earned your life license on your own, this is what you would lay out with classes, prints, the books, all that. Primerica pays for all of that. You don't have to lay out a nickel on that. Here, then your next license, if you look at all the online stuff, the class and everything, it's like $1,000. If you add that up, that's us laying out a lot of money in you. What do you have to lay out? You have to lay out $99 one time, and that's so that we can look up your criminal record. we need to know if you're a criminal. A lot of people say no, and then when we run their criminal check, they go, oh, that armed robbery charge when I was 19, that was such a long time ago. I didn't remember, right? Yeah, you didn't remember the night you were arrested, right? Everybody remembers that, right? So the $99 is used to look up your record, and then there is a cost every month of this amount of money. What is that? That's Primerica Online. That is our intranet that you will get, and while you're in the licensing process, that's what you'll use as a review, practice, test. That way we know you're ready and prepped. And then after the exams, if you're licensed, when you're licensed, you can drop that. But no rep ever drops it, because once you're licensed, then you use that where you could run your own needs analysis on it. You can track all your recruits, all your override checks, all your income. You can look up all the products. There's training online you can get. So that's really your only cost in Primerica once you've laid out the $99. Are there any questions on that? Let me explain to you the income you can earn. Okay, so this was a client that we actually ran their needs analysis, okay? And so let me give you an example now that you know the difference between, the right life product and the wrong life product. So this was a client, $100,000 in life coverage on each, nothing on the kids. Look at their monthly premium, $300. Why? Because they thought it was nest egg, college, retirement, and life insurance. So that's why I said, okay, no problem. So we ran their needs analysis, and when we ran their needs, and I always hold it up, we ran their needs analysis, and they needed quadruple the coverage. And they said, quadruple? We can't pay more than what we're... No, remember, that's the wrong kind. We got the right kind. So the right kind for quadruple the coverage, plus we add on the kids, the new premium's $104. Mr. Ms. Klein, if we could give you quadruple the coverage for less than, for way less cost, is there any reason you wouldn't want that? Would anybody? There are those 1 out of 10 who are just this, but most people are pretty smart, right? So look, you license with us and train entry level, this is what you would make off that. What do you earn a week at your job net after taxes, after they hold everything? About that. So if we could train you one night a week, and you could earn that one night a week, right? And you earn that for 8-9 months in a row, would you quit your job? Right? Because you knew it worked. Now, if you were a trainer, if you work your way up to trainer, on that exact transaction, you make $812. Nick, what do you make a week? About that, all right? So look at that. If you move up to trainer, and you can move up to trainer next 180 days if you work with me, if you listen to me. And if you were the owner and you wrote that transaction, that's over $1,200. Then we look at their IRA. You know, most people, they don't even know what an IRA is. It's not the Irish Republican Army like everybody thinks it is. It's an individual retirement account. And most people, if you don't know where to go, you end up at the bank. So this client, after we ran their needs analysis, right, we looked at what they had. So they had this much in their IRA. This is what they were investing, quote unquote, investing. I'm using that word loosely because they're not investing it because the interest rate is only 1. So we worked out the numbers. What would you have when you were ready to retire? It was just over $100,000. How would their retirement look? Not too good. When we ran their needs analysis told us they needed just over $1 million, to retire. So in order to do that, we needed to move the money and invest it, because at an interest rate of 1, they would never accumulate the $1 million. We moved the money. The IRS lets you move the IRA out of the bank into the mutual fund with no cost. No penalty. We invested the money. We increased the monthly investment. Why? Because the needs analysis said that's what you need to do if you want to reach the $1 million that you need when you retire. We use the rate of 9. We don't use 12. We use 9. If we use 9 and we earn you more, you have more money. If we use 12 and we average 11.99, you look at us like we're liars because it was 11.99 and it wasn't 12, right? And since the average is 9 to 12 and we don't know, we're going to run all the numbers on 9. At 9%, with that much money, it's just over $1 million, which is exactly what they need, to retire. If you wrote that transaction, that's what you make entry level, that's what you make trainer, that's what you make as an owner. A lot of money, isn't it? Then legal, right? You know what I love? You ever watch movies, middle class people, they're arrested, and then they go, call my lawyer. Who are they kidding? They don't have a lawyer. And if you're middle class, you ain't got a lawyer. Who are you going to call? You know, you're going to look in the yellow pages. You're going to ask anybody you know, but you don't have a lawyer, right? So what we did, Primerica, like the auto coverage, health coverage, everybody lays out health premiums every month into it, right? But they don't need to use it every month. But whenever they need it, it's there to use. So what we did is we created that with legal insurance. So everybody lays out the exact premium a month. That's what everybody lays in. And when you need a lawyer, you have a lawyer. In Broward County, Dade County, we use Glance Law. They're in Plantation. They got huge law offices. Lawyers that work in all areas of law. Because when you need a lawyer, you don't just need a lawyer. You need a lawyer that knows what you need him, to work on, right? And so now with this product, you have a law firm there for whenever you need it. And they'll help you with your will, living will, power of attorney, all these issues that everybody needs, that if you were wealthy, you'd have, but you don't have, right or wrong. And we don't make a lot of money off it. It's not a huge profit product. It's there because the clients need it. So you'd make $80 as an entry level, $100 as a trainer, $125 as an owner. If you wrote this one client, you were licensed, trained, Nick, and you knew everything, you went out on your own, and you were entry level, you'd make that plus that plus that, you'd make $1,100 helping one client. Who won more, you or the client? Who won more? The client. The client went from $100,000 to $1 million. That's a $900,000 increase. He went from $100,000 of life coverage to quadrupling. He went from no lawyers to lawyers. You made $1,100. That's cute, but their life really changed, right? Now, when you close that client, what do you do? Ring up your brother-in-law. Danny, I just closed this client. It was awesome. I made $1,100. You were all jacked up. He goes, great job, proud of you, congratulations. He hangs up with you, and you know what he does? He works out, what did I make off that deal? Because he recruited you, trained you, licensed you. So if your brother's a trainer, he would have made this much. He didn't close the app though, you did. So you made the $1,100, so what's left over, he made in an override. How much is that? $350. How'd you like to make that while you were at home with your wife and your kids? Pretty good. So then he would ring me up, the owner. Hey, our new guy, Nick, you know him? Yeah, Nick. I remember Nick. He just closed a client. He did that. And you know what I do? Hey, Danny, you know what you need? More Nicks. You need more Nicks, bro. You only got one. You're one-legged, hopping around. You need some more legs. And I hang up, and what do I do as the owner? I go look and see what I made. Right? Now, I don't really look at that anymore because it just rolls in, and I don't even know where it rolls in from. But in the early days, I would have said, this is what I made. But this is what Nick made. The override was this. That's what your brother-in-law made. You add that up, it equals that. So what's left over? What I made. $752. Who earned the most? The rep that wrote it always earns the most. Who earns the next most? The owner. Why? Because the owner has the office rent. He runs a training. He's the owner. He owns the business. And then the trainer. And in Primerica, we're going to give you in writing exactly what you need to do to work your way up from rep, entry level, to trainer, to owner. And if you want to own it, or you just want to earn $1,000 a month, whatever you want, you can work on here. So let me ask you a question. Are you ready to work with us? If you are, the next move is, because remember, I told you I'm not going to ask you for any check this evening. The next critical thing we need to do is we need to meet with you tomorrow night, and we need to run your needs analysis. I'm going to bring my laptop over tomorrow. I'm going to leave you a list of all the items you need, and I'm going to drive over tomorrow. You're going to have them ready. Which one of you is the one that's more organized with all that stuff? Okay, it's usually the wife. So I'm going to leave you a list of all the items you need. I'm going to drive over tomorrow night because I know your work schedules and you're usually home at night. I'm gonna drive over, we're gonna run your own needs, and you're gonna learn more on your needs analysis than anybody else's. Why? It's your numbers. It's you know what I'm saying, it's like worth a lot, you know, to you. And then we'll recruit you tomorrow night, and we'll review your F&A, and we'll probably run a new recruit orientation with you, okay? Any questions on anything? 8 o'clock, you know, tomorrow, okay? All right, good. Great meeting, you guys. We're on the way to the next meeting now. I got to run, but it was great meeting, guys. See ya. How long was that?
55 minutes.
15 minutes.